folks, and welcome to Groveland Board of Selectmen meeting tonight, Monday, March 18, 2019. Time is now 6:30. If you'll all rise and please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. So, seeing as there's no one here for public comment, we'll move right into the approval of the warrants. So, motion to approve payroll warrant 19-37 in the amount of $159,899.19.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing as there's none, all those in favor? Terrific. Motion to approve bill warrant 19-37 in the amount of $666,859.74, which breaks down as follows. Town, $69,584.64. Water and sewer, $56,910.48. Payroll withholding, $3,956.21. Light bills, $272,779.16. Grants and revolving, $27,877.85. Chapter 90, $10,637.40. And the Whittier assessment is $129,788.
Seconded.
So a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing as there's none, all those in favor? Terrific. We're a lot early for the public hearing, so we'll move, we can move right into the discussion about the Historical Society's annual report.
Hi, Linda Friel, 12 Bear Hill Road. As the Historical Society rents the building, Washington Hall, from the town, every year we give a very brief report with numbers of people and activities that took place there in the previous year. We kicked off our 2018 season in April. We had a historical PowerPoint tour and discussion. We celebrated the Langley Adams 100th birthday with a special program. We had a very popular Antique Appraisal Roadshow done by Dan Meter, who's at John McGinnis Auctioneers. In October, we had the Pine Speedway reunion. We had over 1,000 people on a beautiful day. And the holiday season brought the second Festival of Trees to Washington Hall. We had done it for the first time last year. We had over 35 trees and wreaths, which were raffled off on the last day. The last event of the season was the Bagnell School Chorus, performing seasonal songs. Excuse me. Much of the year has been devoted to writing and preparing material for a new website, which we hope to get up and running by April or May. And as for physical improvements, the windows of Washington Hall had UV protection applied, paid for with CPA funds. In addition to the 587 people who attended the programs at Washington Hall, we had 51 people come on Sundays. Every Sunday, the building is open from 1 to 4. A total of 638 visitors to Washington Hall, an increase from 492 visitors last year. And a bonus is a lot of times people come and bring all kinds of things from attics, basements, garages, and donate them to the Historical Society. We will begin our new season in May, and we're in the process of planning right now. Any questions?
Absolutely.
So if we have items in our house that may be antiques, can we just bring them by and you guys will evaluate them, or how does that work?
That was the antiques appraisal.
Yeah.
We have once a year.
Well, I don't want it, I just don't want it. So if it's something that the Historical Society may want from its,
Oh, yes, that would be great. We're open, 1 to 4.
Oh, okay.
Every Sunday.
because I have put quite a bit of stuff in my attic that I don't even know what's in there from 1850 to
Oh, that would be
1890
great.
yeah, it's just old stuff that I never got rid of. It just kind of stayed
A lot of times people
up
start
there.
cleaning out their attics and basements and garages and barns and find all kinds of fascinating things.
Right. I'm just probably not going to do anything with it since I haven't done anything with it
That
for
would be
20
great.
years. Okay.
That's it. Bill?
Have you guys worked on the bids for the back driveway at all yet? I know that we.
We had one. We're still working on it.
Okay,
That's it?
that's all I can think of right now.
Okay, thank you very much.
Whoa, 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 hold on, hold on, hold on. It's
Yeah,
my
one more.
turn now. I usually go last, because I like to get everybody else's, thoughts in my head. Maybe I don't have to ask the question. Maybe you can and maybe you can't. Can you tell me what the difference is between the Historical Society and the Historical Commission?
The Historical Society is not part of Groveland's government. The Historical Commission is part of Groveland's structure.
Is there any commingling of members between the
Yes.
two?
Yes, there's some people, quite a few people who are interested in history of Groveland are interested in both.
Does that present any conflicts of interest with members on
It
both?
hasn't so far,
Hasn't so far that we know of, or haven't so far?
not that I know of.
Great, and what, you're with the society,
And I'm also on the commission.
and you're also with the commission. Can you tell us a little bit of what the commission does, as opposed to what the society does?
Well, the commission does things, we did a grant last year for going around and surveying local houses. We meet on a regular basis, but not too frequently. That's what we do right now. It's not a super active committee, but when we do grants for the state, then we get involved big time.
What kind of grants would those be for? And that would be through the commission?
No, that's through the state, Mass Historical.
No, is that
Commission.
through the historical commission as
Yes.
opposed to the historical society?
It was through the commission.
And what kind of grants would
It was,
you get?
the last one we did was a matching grant, $12,000 and $12,000, which our half was paid for with CPA money. And it was to continue the survey of historic houses in Groveland. We hope to write one more grant, and hopefully we'll have highlighted every house of historical interest once, and then go from there. That's something we want to get on our website. We would like to get these surveys, which are extremely well done, on the website so people can go do their own research. And it's always fascinating to look at your own house and say, oh, wow, these people lived here. And they're all under the auspices of the, excuse me, the Mass Historical Commission, which is right at the UMass campus
And
in
does
Boston.
the society have its own treasury and treasurer and things like that?
Yes,
So it has its own funds?
yes.
And the funds come from, how's the revenue,
We
where's the
rent-
revenue come from?
We have two houses we rent, that are rented. And the rest of the money is pretty much raised by events. And the Pine Speedway is financed with mostly money from other sources, community sources, banks, things like that.
The charitable donations, private donations?
And the Festival of Trees is financed with professional, donations. A lot of businesses and people make donations.
And with the revenues, how do you expend the money?
When we have plumbing problems, we have insurance, we have plumbing problems.
And this is at Washington Hall specifically?
Yes, it's only at Washington Hall. Some of them use, if we have a program, we pay a stipend or a set fee.
What kind of plumbing problems, specific,
We had, I'm trying to remember, it was last year. We have to get all the plumbing taken care of because we close it down in the winter, it's too cold. And it was I can't remember what it was. He had to come and fix, one of the things needed some copper piping. It wasn't a problem per se, but it needed to be attended to.
and is the society a 501c3? Is it
Yes, we are.
you are, so you can, anybody can donate to your
It's tax
society, and it's
deductible.
tax deductible. Great. Okay. Well said. Any more questions?
I'm good.
Good.
All right, thank you for your,
Okay,
So
thank
much.
you very much.
moving right along. We have the continued discussion of the Personnel Procedures Manual. So, has anybody given that any more thought? I know I have given
I
it.
have.
Specifically in the PTO part that we really
Kind of tabled last time?
Yeah, I mean, we took some feedback from the employees, got some ideas on what they liked, what they didn't like.
Yeah.
We can see now that it has some flaws. It's not a perfect document. It needs to be massaged a little. Does anybody have any thoughts on the best way to massage that without being negatively impactful to the employees now, but being competitive enough and generous enough that we can attract the type of individuals we want?
I
to
say
bring more value to the
the
town.
new people coming, somehow, make it so the new people coming in can have the policy the way they want it, and the older people that work here really don't have to change the policy for them if they don't want to.
Yeah, the only, the only discussion
don't
we had on
mean
that
like-
was that it's more administrative task for Denise to keep up with, but I think it's probably the,
I think this
Most
town
equitable
is
thing
starting
to
to
do.
change over quite a bit,
yeah,
and I think that you're gonna see that we're gonna have more new incomers coming than we have old ones wanting to stay, people getting into the retirement.
yeah, I think eventually you would switch over to the
Right,
new one.
right.
But as people are still here until they retire, then
Right.
it's something that you might have to manage kind of two policies, at least on the
Right.
PTO standard,
Right.
and not ding someone for being here and then having a separate policy, a new policy that's gonna limit their time off that they've already been here and earned. I mean, we don't wanna do that.
No, absolutely, that's,
And
I don't think
the other
that's
thing
the
is too, is,
intention.
I know in last week's conversation, we're all worried about if we don't adopt this, we're not gonna get the people to come work here. I would love to work for a municipal government. It's a good job. So people come here for the reason that working for the town is a good job. So that's just a benefit all in itself, to come be able to work for a town, you know what I mean? And, they may slide from Groveland to another town, but they're not leaving the town of Groveland and going back to the private sector. I can guarantee you that, they're not. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, I'd like to see them leave the private sector to come to
Well,
Groveland because
that-
we're
true.
attractive.
I got you,
We're
and I think we are
competitive.
attractive, and I think we will be attractive, but I'm just saying, they're going to come here because we are a government municipal job. That's what's gonna attract them here to begin with, and then from there, they're gonna want to build their package like everyone else that's come before us, they're gonna want their vacation and blah, blah, blah. So we put a policy in place, if we could, and I know it's a lot more work for Denise, but if we could leave the people that are here, if they don't wanna change, they stay the route they're on, and the new people coming in, we have a policy in place. But we build something in when we're not gonna really change people that are here working already.
Yeah, not if it's gonna ding them. I mean, that
Right, we
doesn't
don't
make
wanna ding
sense,
'em.
yeah.
Right. And I agree, the policy needs to be changed, and unfortunately, you're stuck between new and old, and you're A and B, and you know what I mean? We gotta try and weigh the situation both ways.
Well,
New and existing.
New and existing, sorry.
I think in the draft policy that they're working on, it states that if you've completed 5 years, you can choose to stay with the old policy or roll to the new one.
Right, and what Denise was alluding to was administratively, it becomes a nightmare when you're juggling a number of people that have different accrue PTO at different rates, at
Right.
different times. And what we're trying to do is find a way around that.
But I don't think we're talking, how many people do you think we're talking?
Yeah, that was the other thing. You're not talking
We're not
hundreds, you're
talking hundreds
talking
of people, we're talking.
10.
Yeah, 10, 15 people, so there's not that much, I mean, it's a pain in the neck for a little bit of time, but we're not talking hundreds of people.
Well, the other thing is, we definitely want to clear up the language that says you're not eligible for vacation time,
Right.
for
After 24
possibly
months
up
or
to
whatever.
23 months. That has to be cleared up so that, the policy is clear, it's understood, and there's no,
Gray area?
or misunderstanding.
Right.
And we don't go against the policy in order to just be fair to people.
Right, I agree with you.
So that should be
So the
cleaned up.
policy itself needs to be gone through. And there wasn't a lot of major areas, a lot of it wasn't major.
No,
There was like 3 or 4 areas that needed to be tightened up a little bit, but for the most part, the policy was pretty much what we got. But they crossed their i's and dotted their t's, was what they did. Now, getting someone to come work for the town of Groveland, I understand, you're trying to get new people in here, good people and all that, but keep in mind that we don't have to build it too stiff and lose money on behalf of the town, because I think just coming to the town of Groveland or coming to a town or a municipal job, that right in itself is job security and everything else,
right, but half the battle, and you're a business owner, so you must know this. I'm probably not gonna tell you anything you don't know. The cost of retraining,
Right,
right? When you get somebody that's really good,
right,
you wanna keep that person.
got you.
You wanna retain that individual, because now that individual's become more valuable than actually what
100%.
you're paying them, right?
Yep.
Because they've become diverse. You can give this person just about anything and know they're gonna handle it professionally, responsibly, and get the job done.
Yep.
And, if he comes to you and says, Bill, I'm thinking about going to work for ABC, he's gonna give me 50 cents more an hour, you say, hey, Joe, you're great, I'll match that, you stay, right? Because you wanna retain that, because it's a real pain in the neck to go through the hiring process, the interview process, and negotiating, and then bringing that person up to speed. When we get a good person, we wanna do what we can to keep those people here. Because they become valuable over time just by attrition. What a lot of people call tribal knowledge, right? You pick that up over time, and that's tough to, that experience, that's what I'm talking about. It's the retention. We might not have trouble bringing people in. I want to keep the good people we get. And that's why I think some of the language needs to be tightened up, it needs to be clearer.
Well, you're gonna have to turn around and put a policy in there that they're gonna stay for 10 years no matter what, because
Well-
I found in my business what happens, people come in, I educate them, I get them to know everything, and then they move on, you know what I mean? There's only so far you can climb the ladder. You're ahead of a department, that's awesome. You're there, you're happy, I'm ahead of the department, I'm there. But if you got someone working their way up and they don't see the light at the end of the tunnel because
Well, they
someone's in
don't
that
see a path,
position,
yeah.
they're going on to another town for a different position to go up that ladder quicker. And that's
Absolutely.
what you're gonna run into, no matter what you're doing, the same as me in my business, I can offer them 50 cents or $1 more to stay, and then the other guy's gonna throw $2 more, and then you can be a foreman in 3 years, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
he's at the stalemate where I am. So that's another thing you gotta think of,
That's obviously, a situation we're going to encounter from time to time, just based on the departments and how they're structured.
I don't think if you talk to anyone in this town, as far as employees, I can't believe any of them feel that we don't give them what they deserve and we treat them the way they should be treated. We probably could say, thank you more, but I'm just saying, I think we offer pretty good. And I know what you're saying, let's make sure we don't dump on them, I agree. But I don't feel bad for what we've done, you know what I mean? When I was where you were sitting every year, I wanted to make sure they got their 2% and what have you, so they're getting, a lot of people out in this world don't get 2%. They don't get 2% every year, and we've been doing it, so, I think we're
agree.
fair.
And I don't think it needs a complete overhaul.
No.
It
No,
needs some
no.
tweaking, some
Right.
refining of the language.
Right.
Some clarifications of terms, and then I think it's pretty good to go.
I think once we decide, are we staying with the 5 years? If anyone that's been here over 5 years, that language, and then we just take the book and we go through it. Most of it, we don't have to change, what stuff we need to change, we have to peel through it like we did with the budget. Go through page by page, this good, and mark it up and move on.
Yeah, but when are we gonna do that?
Well,
It's
it's-
budget season now, and
I
that's gonna
know,
take
well-
up most of the next meetings.
Right. Wasn't there only like there wasn't that many things, was there, pages? Maybe we can go
No,
through.
there wasn't, but I think the goal would be to get this ratified before the new year.
Oh, I
right?
agree with you. I
So
agree.
I think we'd have to
Going into July 1st.
push this back onto the employees to make sure that that's something that they're okay with while we're doing the budget season. Then after budget season, we take that as the next 2 or 3 meetings, make sure that we ratify that as best we can.
You don't think we can do it in a meeting?
One, it'd be great if we
There's
could.
only like, I think there's only 4 or 5 subjects, if I remember. I had my book here somewhere, right here. I don't know if I marked it up. There was one due to the, I left it in the office, I got, this is the original. I thought it was only like 1 through 10 was the ones that we really needed to talk about or something.
No, we took the PTO first because it was really the most impactful. And we wanted to give employees a chance to,
Sick leave was one of them, if I remember.
well,
Well, that,
right now, they're in different
Right.
buckets.
Yep.
Sick time and vacation time are different.
Right.
And the suggestion to move it all to PTO
Right.
gives people 25 days
Right.
right away.
Yep.
And if they aren't careful, they might use all their vacation time for fun and games and not have any left for actual
Right.
sick. So
but that
we might,
becomes your own responsibility. right?
that
That's-
should be your own
That's
responsibility.
what big boys and girls do.
Right.
And do we really want to police that, or do we
Not
want to
policing that, that's for them to police, right?
ask
That's,
them to act like adults?
here's what you're allowed, don't use them all in May.
Right, or don't go to Ruber and,
So one of them was paid time off. I had this all marked up.
yeah, some mark too.
Sick leave,
Yep.
personal leave,
Yeah,
was another one. And the vacations I thought were all right. I thought oh, no, there was a 23-week provision,
The 23-month.
23-month provision, yeah.
right. Well, we've got to move that up and somehow,
So that's just a matter of
they accrue
reword.
it
Right.
as they go.
As day one,
So we
right?
have to
Not have to
rewrite
wait
that.
23 months.
We have to
day one.
rewrite it,
Well, the other thing is,
or tighten it up.
I would make it retroactive from day one, once they pass the 90-day probationary period. I wouldn't
Right.
wouldn't
Start,
necessarily,
yeah.
Right.
you know,
So if they make it past the 90 days, they can go back to day one when they started and,
it's retroactive to
Right.
day one. That's
That's
another,
fine.
that's something else in the language, I think.
That's fine.
I saw that needed
Yeah.
to be
I would agree with that.
kind of tidied up. And then if we could somehow meld the PTO new and old, where we don't have to reinvent the wheel, but just
But-
kind of keep it rolling.
right, but the new and old. And we can't do a timeline of like, we already have the 5 years built in part of it, but I mean,
Right, it's more how they accrue, so that they
Right,
end up at the
right, how you
same
build it to
place
that point.
at the end of the day.
right.
The old employees don't lose anything, and the
Right.
new employees will eventually
So we
get
need to take a
there
piece
if
of
they
paper and
spend
say,
long
what did the old get, what did the new get, and we have to figure it out from there, narrow it in. So what's the proposed, what's the old, and we need to narrow in between, we gotta find a common ground in between the two of them.
That and, are we going to have separate buckets, or is it gonna be one PTO bucket?
I think it's gonna be easier with separate myself, but that's just me.
Mike's of the opinion that we're all adults and you get 25,
Right.
figure it out. I don't know, Caitlin, do you have any, administratively, is it a advantage or disadvantage, one or the other?
I can't see that there would be a huge difference between saying I'm taking a PTO day or I'm taking a vacation or a sick. They're all pretty much tracked the same. It would just go into a different box. You know, one would require a sick note if you're out for a certain amount of days in a row, but if on PTO, I don't know. It all depends at would be in the language. You know.
So it may not matter then.
Right,
Administratively,
like, if you switch to PTO, you would have to lose all the vacation and the sick language from the policy, cause it wouldn't really,
They wouldn't apply anymore.
Apply,
You'd
right.
have one PTO bucket, there's so many days you get, and you move on from there. Now,
correct.
we don't use paychecks or ADP here,
No, we have Harper's.
Harper's, so is it similar, you go in and you just click
Yep.
off a box? This is, I imagine, you have different boxes now for,
Sick and vacation, yep, bereavement.
so that would
So-
stay the same, jury duty would stay the same, Family Leave Act would stay the same.
Yep,
You just get rid of one box that said sick and it'd be
time off or,
PTO.
yep,
But, I mean, what does it, yeah, really, what does it matter? I mean, PTO's PTO, period, whatever.
Right.
Especially in this, it's not like a personal company, you know what I mean? It's, I agree, knock out one box, simplify it.
Then we go with the PTO and get rid of the sick and, I mean, that's what, Mike seems to feel that way.
Yeah.
I don't have a problem with making people accountable. I mean, you get this many days.
You're not cutting anyone out.
No. And then we do have a limitation on, with the number of people in the departments. We should specify that no one can take more than X amount without advance notice, so that,
Yeah, you
these-
don't wanna take 2 weeks and have the department closed for 2 weeks.
So you have to lock in how many days you can use for PTO days then.
No, just at once, so maybe the max you can use at any one time is 5 days, or whatever the number is. I mean, you don't
That's
wanna
what I'm
take
saying.
15, right?
Right, that's what I just
Take
said.
3 weeks off and then maybe it
And
shuts
then,
down.
you're right, you have a department closed
Can they
for
use the
3 weeks
PTO
because
days
it's
with
a
vacation
one-person
days at the
department.
same time, back to back?
there would be no vacation days if they were PTO days.
PTO is PTO.
No, I'm saying when you took your vacation,
I've never taken a vacation here, so I don't know
right?
if
She's
there's
still
a
waiting the
cap.
24
I'm
months.
still waiting for
Yeah.
my,
All I'm saying is, if you took a vacation, let's say, and you had a week's vacation, and then you try to use your PTO days at the end of that to get another 5 days, that's all I'm saying. And that goes back to what you said, can we leave an office empty this long? So somehow you gotta,
Yeah,
Worry about
we have
that.
to restrict it somehow that,
Right.
You can't just come in the first of the year and say, take 5 weeks off. That would leave certain departments just decimated with staffing.
right. How many days now do we have?
They get 15 vacation and, how many?
15 sick and 10 vacation, 3 personal. So that's 28 after you've completed 1 year.
Or 23
Or
months.
23 months, depending on what your
Depending
hire-
on your hire date.
Depending on your hire date. Because we roll it to the first, so we gotta make it that to their hire date instead of to the,
Right.
After completing
Fiscal
like 1
calendar.
calendar year instead of.
We're gonna have to table this.
yeah, I think we're gonna have to, table this discussion, as I see it's getting very close to 7 o'clock. And in order to comply with the public hearing, I have to move that subject down the road for a little bit. So,
Yep. Unless you want me to read it.
I'm pretty good at reading it.
Okay.
And then,
Thought I'd offer.
so I see the time is now 7 o'clock, so in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 82, Sections 21 and 22, the Board of Selectmen will hold a public hearing on Monday, March 18, 2019, at 7 PM in the main meeting room of Town Hall, 183 Main Street, Groveland, Mass., on the proposed road layout of Sunset Circle. Per the petition of GeoAmbient Consultants Incorporated on behalf of Wallace Capital LLC, the proposed roadway layout is as follows. Beginning at a point on the northerly street line of Salem Street, said point being 311, is that feet? 311 feet, 38 inches? What would you say?
Yeah.
Okay, westerly of a granite bound with drill hole, thence running north. I don't even know how to read that. Is that a longitude line?
North, 0 day, 52 minutes, 30 seconds.
That's what I thought, the longitude line. East, 277.49 feet to a point, 65 feet, 295.98 feet to a point of reverse curvature, thence running along a curve to the right with a radius of 30 feet, 42.38 feet to a point of tangency, thence running south, 1 day, 52 minutes and 30 seconds west, 220.81 feet to a point of curvature, thence running north, 89, 50, 30 east, 74.21 feet to the point of beginning, per order of the Board of Selectmen.
It's pretty specific, huh?
You're
North
not
Pole.
kidding.
We've landed.
Bingo, I've got bingo. So is there anyone from, I'm not sure where we begin with, ambient?
Probably anyone from the planning board, right? Because they would have probably dealt with it.
Maybe if Rebecca could give us some,
Maybe she can clear up all those letters and numbers.
yeah, all those letters and numbers and digits and coordinates.
A little,
And give us some
brief overview.
background on exactly, I have been by the property, I've seen the hydrant, so I have a good visual now of what's going on. Maybe you could kind of fill us in on the background.
Nope, definitely. So, this subdivision, it was formerly
Oh.
known,
Rebecca.
Rebecca Oldham, town planner.
Thanks.
So this subdivision was, approved by the planning board on June 23rd, 2015. It was formerly known as Skip Sheehan Way, and it was changed to Sunset Circle. The property contained approximately 3.6 acres and resulted in the creation of 3 residential lots. Since then, the houses have been built and the residents are in those homes. Wallace Capital, the applicant through his engineer, John Hargraves, who is here with us this evening, is currently petitioning the board for approval of the road layout plan. So per Mass General Law, the planning board approval of the subdivision doesn't constitute acceptance of the public way. The public way has to be accepted, there's a procedure. So essentially, it falls under the jurisdiction of the Board of Selectmen. So the first step is that the Board of Selectmen will approve the laying out of the roadway. So we're specifically here tonight to focus on the roadway itself. Once the Board of Selectmen approves of the layout, then a warrant article is put forward at town meeting, and the town will vote to accept the road as a public way, meaning that we will then be able to expend town funds on that roadway in order to maintain it, plow it, sand it, etc. So after that, there's about 121 days from the close of town meeting that the Board of Selectmen will then have the ability to accept the rights to the roadway through eminent domain or an easement of some sort, whatever is best interest of the town. So what we are here tonight for is the laying out of the roadway. So again, as I had stated, the subdivision has been approved, the road has been constructed, it has been reviewed by our peer review consultant, who is Camet Engineering at the time, so they've reviewed it, as well as one of our planning board members, Lisa Chandler. She actually has a PE, so she reviewed some of the updates to the plans that the engineer and surveyor had made based upon some of the initial comments from Camet. So it's all been reviewed and it's been vetted by the planning board. There's just one particular issue with this subdivision that you don't typically see in most cases, and that is that the fire hydrant was installed 7.5 feet beyond the right-of-way, and it's actually located on somebody's personal property. So the planning board has expressed some concern about that because it's private property, and if we accept the road, that still does not give the town the ability to go on this person's private property to maintain the hydrant. Granted, there's probably ways to get about if there was a fire and they needed to access the hydrant, safety issues, I'm sure, but what's to say that the hydrant's been maintained and it will function in that event of an emergency, because it hasn't been flushed, et cetera. So we have no authority and rights to enter that personal property to get to the hydrant. So there's some concern there. So we brought those concerns to the developer. The developer said that he does not want to relocate the hydrant. There was talks at one point of obtaining an easement with the homeowner so that the town would be able to access his property to maintain the hydrant. However, that fell through. So he decided that he does not want to move forward with relocating the hydrant. So the planning board has withheld some of the monies and the performance bond that we initiated to essentially perform the work. So I've been working with the water and sewer department, the superintendent, and their contractor that we use for some of the other construction projects that we have around town. And they had put together a scope and a price estimate for what this work would entail, which is removing the hydrant from the personal property. They would, need to disrupt his lawn, they would need to disrupt his driveway. It would be a little bit of an inconvenience, not a terrible inconvenience, but an inconvenience nonetheless. Then we would move the hydrant to the proper location, which is in the right-of-way in the planting strip where it was originally supposed to be. And so that's great. So if we had that money set aside, we did not release that to the applicant, we can use those monies to correct the situation. However, we do not have written permission from the homeowner to enter his property and perform said work. So Tom Cusick with the water superintendent had went out to the site, talked to the homeowner. He's been very cooperative through this. It's been a very difficult process, as you can imagine. So he is on board with having the work done. However, when we asked if we could get something in writing, he was reluctant to do so. So because we don't have anything in writing, I'm hesitant to make a recommendation on behalf of the department to move forward with the laying out until a resolution is presented. And that's either whether or not we physically relocate the hydrant and wait to accept the layout until a later date, or if it's the proposal that the hydrant is going to be relocated to this said location and we have written permission from the homeowner to actually conduct the work. So everything else in the subdivision, it was a difficult subdivision. I wasn't here at the time, but I've heard many stories, as I'm sure you're all very, very well aware of. But the roadway has been constructed to the standards. There's nothing wrong with the layout except for the hydrant at this point in time.
So, all in a nutshell, if we accept the road, we may have a problem getting at that hydrant.
Exactly.
So, until we get that in writing, we really probably shouldn't accept that road. Because I can see what would happen, God forbid we did, and then we can't get at it, and then it's gonna be a liability on the town, and what have you, even if we needed it. So if we needed it, and we went to go use that hydrant to put a fire out or something, we could be liable crossing their property, even with the fire department, not only the planning board. So I don't think we should act on it until we get it in writing, that we can go over there and actually get the owner to say we can move it. It's a liability on behalf of us. I said my part.
Mike?
Any idea how this was put in 7 feet off?
There's a bunch of stipulation about how the actual incident occurred, whether or not the roadway was the installation. Essentially, from what I'm told, the original developer had sold the lots to a builder, and there was initial concerns with the original developer who was putting in the lines. And so they would have been out there to inspect when they were putting out the lines, but they laid it out and staked it out, and then they didn't do what they were supposed to do. So that's kind of the.
So it's their fault?
Yeah.
Okay. And what is the cost to move it? Do we have that?
So the estimate, I don't have the exact estimate, but it's a little under $10,000.
Okay. And the easement that was sought after, was there a specific reason why that wasn't agreed to?
The homeowners here this evening can speak more to it, but from my understanding, there was some concern with the way that the planning board had actually handled the decision-making for this particular subdivision. They did not like the way that they handled it in its entirety, and just no longer wanted to work with the planning board at that point in time.
Much liability for us to accept the road as is, given that there could be a fire down there and we don't have access to that fire hydrant. At some point, something has to be done with it, right?
Right.
It has to be moved at somebody's cost.
Right.
Immediately, really,
Right.
before we accept the full ownership of that road. But I'd like to hear more from the homeowner or any.
The owners, yeah.
So
anybody else.
right now, as I understand it, the only thing stopping this from going forward right now is a reluctance of the homeowner to give written permission.
So there would be two things. There's one, so in order to, the laying out of the road, it doesn't show the final utilities. So the final utilities would include the water service line, and that will be changed. So the as-built is not what has been built, it's not what physically exists on the ground. there is a way that we could work with it by saying that it's going to be relocated. The conditions in the field won't necessarily change that all too much. You might be a little bit off, but not really anything that would be a significance. So there is a way that we could say it will be located in this location without it being an issue. However, again, as you stated, it's the written permission that's causing the delay.
Okay, are you asking for specific language in the written permission?
So I just initially had, after the site walk with the superintendent had the superintendent had drafted an email with the scope of what it would entail for the actual relocation of the hydrant, and I had asked the homeowner if he could respond with written permission to conduct said work, and he said no. So there's no, I mean, if we want to take it to town council, we can take it to town council. It's not a matter before technically the planning board, so it's just that I'm concerned about the safety and whether or not we have that liability. So however it's dealt with, is it to instruct us to go talk to town council and get an agreement to have them work with the homeowner? So be it. Is it that we wait until it's physically existing on the ground, then so be that. Whatever it is that you can think of as a resolution to this is essentially the best way to handle it.
Great.
I know I have a resolution, it's not gonna be super
Oh, so
popular
how you
though.
hear from the homeowner?
Do you have anything
Yeah.
else?
I'm good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Appreciate it. I understand we have the homeowner here. I hope.
Good evening, my name's Melissa Baker. I live at 5 Sunset Circle, and I am the house in question with the fire hydrant.
Are you the house that burnt down?
No, I'm not.
Oh my God, unreal. Go ahead.
You want,
So,
Yes.
what is it you're looking for, as far as being able to sign off?
So my husband is the one who had all of the discussions with the water and sewer department, and we are perfectly comfortable with working with the water and sewer department to relocate the fire hydrant as needed. As Rebecca explained, we at one point were considering an easement. We had issues with how the planning board dealt with issues that the residents brought to the planning board. They were taking votes pretty much kind of hidden under the old business, so we weren't able to participate in discussions and be involved with those votes that they were conducting. And so we took our agreement to place an easement on our property back ultimately. We are willing to relocate the fire hydrant. We've told the water and sewer department that as they get closer to being able to perform the work, that's when we will give the authority to come on our property, when they can give us, dates, scopes, when everything's gonna be disrupted. That's
So you're
when-
looking for a specific timeframe,
Right,
not just
exactly, not just
whatever.
like,
So-
show up on my property
Right.
and,
Yeah, because you're
so
not gonna
no
have
notice,
access to
no
your yard, or
nothing.
your driveway, your sidewalk, any of that
Correct,
stuff.
right.
So that being said, could you direct with this board and give a okay based on?
verbal
Well,
agreement?
not verbal, but put it in writing saying that you spoke to the Board of Selectmen you're happy with the agreement, you're gonna wait to get to a certain date down the road, but at least give us the green light to sign this paperwork to get the road accepted, so now we can go ahead and take it to town meeting and all that. And granted, we will make sure that that board gets a hold of you and you have that conversation with them. We just need, as you heard, Rebecca.
Yep.
We need to get the ball rolling, and I understand where you're coming from, you wanna protect yourself, and I think that you could use this board to try and do that. Not sign off on it, but say, yes, I am gonna be in agreement with this, said what you just said. You said, when I get a date, et cetera, et cetera. At least now, we're comfortable that we can go ahead and sign and move on and get to town meeting with it.
I mean, I believe my husband would be fine with that, to the effect that as long as you guys are aware of the fact that this still needs to occur.
Oh, no, no, you're
you know.
you're here in the town meeting, so, and it's a hearing, so it will happen.
Yeah, I would say that we don't make a decision tonight, that we make sure that she's able to talk to her
Yeah,
husband.
I agree.
Get that, at least a family decision done, and then come back and say, yes, we agree, have the town and water and sewer tell us a week that they think they're gonna be there. That way you know and you can plan around that.
Correct.
That'd be my recommendation.
Right.
And I imagine there's a schedule or something that the Water Commission has that they schedule
weather
jobs,
related.
right? So I imagine it wouldn't be that difficult to put that on the schedule and have a date.
I think it's more the person that they're hiring to do it, contractor. So, but we can work that out. Not a problem.
So it sounds like we have a deal.
Sounds good.
So do
So
you
you'll have
want,
to get that letter over to Denise or to Caitlin?
yeah, do you want to put them on the schedule for the next meeting, just so they have time to confirm it, or do you just want to move forward?
Well, we'll have to because we'll have to approve it, so.
Yeah, we got to wait.
Yeah, oh, I
So-
agree.
So the next
put it on
meeting,
the-
that's not a problem. Next meeting, we can get it done,
We should be able to,
as long as the letter gets over there.
we feel pretty confident we can wrap this up in 2 weeks? And then you can come back in 2 weeks and we can sign off on it and then we'll all be good to go? Sounds like a
Alright.
plan to me then.
Yeah, I think so.
All right,
We don't need a vote on it, right?
not right now, there's nothing to vote on.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank
Oh,
you.
what, we have another,
Oh.
I guess,
Neighbor.
yep, well, she's
My
on the
name is
list.
Mary Ann Casoli. I'm the one that owns the house at 4 Sunset that had the fire.
Yep.
That house originally was supposed to have gas heat, natural gas. Part of my lawsuit, it states that I get natural gas at some point, and I'm told that there's a 5-year, if to pave the street, I can't put it in for 5 years.
Yep.
And if, say, next week, they say, here's the money for the gas line, you can bring in the natural gas. It's a 320-something feet stretch from Salem Street. It's a straight line in, and I have to be able to have the road dug up. And also, a couple of months ago, somebody dug up and repaved near the curbing, and they went halfway into my driveway. Now I always have a puddle of water there, and the asphalt that they put down is all dirt. It's like a binder coat. And it's eventually gonna have a hole there. Because it's, first of all, it's not completely, it's not the whole street. They decided to stop 3/4 of the way into my driveway. And I don't know why they did that. There was never, prior to them doing whatever they did it there was never a puddle of water there. Now there's always a puddle of water when it rains.
Was it the contractor that did the work? Because the town hasn't accepted the road, so we wouldn't be in there working.
No, it was the original contractor. Barber Landscaping did it.
I don't know.
I don't know if we have any
You'd have to
control
try and
over
get a hold of the
original
contractor that did it. We have no
contractor.
say over that.
Yeah. and
When was this?
Dealing with them is impossible.
When
How
was
about the
this?
town, the building inspector? Has nothing to do with the house though, right? So it's
No,
not gonna be
no,
the-
it's out in the street. It's,
Yep.
it's city, it's the town property.
Well,
And we
have a new
can't even ask our road
superintendent, so-
commissioner because he's not, wouldn't have anything to do with the road yet because we haven't accepted the road, so we wouldn't have any say in
Now,
it.
if you accept the road, will I have a problem putting in the natural gas?
I can't answer that. Maybe Rebecca can. I don't know.
You would have to file a street opening permit.
Is,
And what would that entail?
You'd have to go before the highway superintendent in order, I don't know what the application is, but there's an application in order to open up any street,
Yeah.
publicly owned.
Yeah, but you would, the gas company would.
Yes.
Yeah, the gas company would be the one that would
The
come
gas
in and,
company does that.
Permit, so you need a
But-
permit
is that
in
for the
order to
whole
open up
neighborhood?
but you know, something else, I'm not gonna speak on behalf of the gas company.
Yeah.
But I've seen them not only go on the road, they can go on the, like on the edge or on the, on the edge or on the even. They don't have to go necessarily down the middle of the road. So that's really what the gas company
Yeah, the
decides to
gas
lay out.
company told me that it depends on
Right.
how they look at it. It
Yeah.
could be off to the
And how many
sidewalk.
houses, if there's one house or if there's all you got, I mean, so that's really on behalf of the gas company, which they just got off a strike, so God knows when you're gonna get that. That could be 4 years or how backed up
They
they,
told me it would be if you put your name on the list by January 1st,
yeah.
you're guaranteed to have the gas installed by November of that year, because they stopped construction because of the weather.
Mm-hmm.
From November to like May, there's no construction. But once, they wouldn't accept your money if they couldn't do it within a
Right.
reasonable period of time.
Why wasn't that done when the development was being,
Because
Agreed.
DeHulla took over and he does not, I was told, does not use natural gas.
so none of the houses on that street? have
None of the
that?
houses have it. They all have a sunken propane tank.
And the road work you had mentioned, when was that done?
Maybe about 2 months, maybe in December? Yeah, was it in December? It was a little bit before Christmas. Because they told me they were the town. They rang my doorbell and they said they were fixing the street because of the town. And they asked if they could use my water. But then after, I questioned them later on when I thought they were just gonna use a bucket of water. They ran my water for like 4 hours straight. And I went out and I said, how long are you gonna run this water for? And they told me that they were from the original contractor, Wallace Capital.
So it wasn't
The
our-
town.
No,
the
that's,
town.
no, I
But
said
they
that. It
lied to
wasn't
me
us.
when they came to my front door, first of all. And, whatever they did there,
Was there hot top there before?
there was hot top and there was no problem, there was no puddles of water
Was there
there.
a curb there?
There's a curb there.
Was there a curb there?
Yes, there was.
Did they take that curb out?
No.
No? I don't know. I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, let's,
It was the same day that they put up the fence at Tony's property, that somebody went
I don't
later
know.
and fixed it. The fence was falling down when they put it up.
unless the planning board, I don't know if the planning board had any kind of an order that they had to comply with. I know the fence was part of that, wasn't it?
Well, there was that, and I know that they were fixing the roadway, but it should have been, from the calculations provided after the as-built, it was that the puddling would deter that because it would go into the catch basin.
Yeah, no, it's not.
I don't know. I don't think
Okay.
we can get into that. I hate to say it, but I don't think we can get into that conversation. It's between the developer and the planning board and whatever.
Oh, yeah, and then I was told that there was supposed to be another street light put on the street.
Well, I guess until we take acceptance of the road, it's not our.
You won't get one
It's
anyway.
not our
You
street.
won't get one.
and-
Not until you get acceptance of the road, then we have to okay another light. This
Okay.
board okays it.
Okay, oh, okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Maybe the engineer wants to talk.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody that's on the list. If there's anyone else for public comment that wishes to speak, speak now, hold your peace, I guess. Doesn't seem to be anyone that wishes to speak.
I'm good.
You're good. So I think we have resolution in the matter. It's on the agenda for 2 weeks. And hopefully we'll have dates, we'll have a letter, we'll give approval, and then it'll all happen, and everybody will be happy camper. So like happy people.
We should have some kind of investigation done to find out who was doing what and when by the superintendent, whenever he gets his settlement in, because it seems like there's a lot of hands in that development even after the fact.
Maybe we can ask, I don't know, if our old road commissioner is around, we can ask him what the digging was, if he knew anything about it. Drop on an email or something for the other lady.
Yeah, the biggest problem is, it's not our road.
Right.
I understand that,
So-
but he was on the planning board as well, and he,
Right, but if the contractor's doing work on a private road,
no, just to let her know what went on out there. I'm not saying we're gonna fix it, I'm just
I
saying
don't know,
let
I'm
her
not saying
know.
we can figure, I'm saying, I'm not sure we can control that from happening again. As
No,
long
not
as it's a
until the road's
private road,
accepted,
Until
right.
the road's accepted.
Right.
Just don't give them any more water.
Yeah, no, I'm not giving
No.
them more water,
Drain it out of the pond, tell them, you're out.
except for down a pond.
Okay, so we'll move on with that. We're all
Yeah.
good. Do we have to end
Close it.
public discussion?
I think you have to close the public hearing, but I don't know if you gotta read some crazy thing on it or not.
I'm not sure. I don't have anything on it.
I think you should have to close the public hearing.
Okay, motion to close the public hearing.
Second,
All those in favor? Public hearing is closed. Thank you very much for coming. So shall we continue on the discussion of personnel policy or?
might as
should
well, there's
we-
not a lot on there, so.
Oh, are we ready to?
Can we come up with tonight, maybe come up with we don't have a lot on the agenda, and I think that's why it was probably left kind of vague. Can we come up tonight and talk about the areas that we want to narrow in on, at least? Which we're talking, what was it, the
PTO.
PTO is
Definitely
one of them.
narrowing on that, with the language there.
So PTO,
Tonight was pages 1 through 17.
Right, which mainly dealt with the time off.
coverage, description, provision for benefits. So if we go through 1 through 17, and anything that, any major changes 1 through 17? Okay, flip through them.
May I offer a suggestion? Hi, I'm Lynn Stanton, Council on Aging Director and member of the Personnel Advisory Board. So pages 1 through 17 of the manual, as we've adjusted it, essentially involve changes to that first that 1, 2, 3, essentially fourth paragraph on page 1 that indicates the PAB, Personnel Advisory Board, has conclusive authority to interpret the personnel bylaw, maintenance of the personnel bylaw, amendments, personnel, salary, wage increases. The Personnel Advisory Board does not want to and never has participated in that effort. That sort of thing was managed by the finance director and former admin Nancy Lewandowski. That was as personnel officer. That whole task was conducted by those folks, not the Personnel Advisory Board. So we would like that whole paragraph to be removed. The other items that might be of interest by way of changes, for instance, on page 5, section 5, equal employment opportunity advisory board thing, it's essentially sort of boilerplate, if you will, relating to common practices in terms of Mass General law, that sort of thing. So that we didn't get involved in, nor did we get involved in sections 2 and 3, definitions of sexual harassment, blah, blah, blah. Section 5, ditto. Section 6 on page 9, the business of discrimination, that whole area is something that's managed by the town, likely through Kopelman and Page, that whole effort. In terms of recruitment, section B on page 10, there's a little side note saying there is no legal requirement to post vacancies. Personnel Advisory Board felt that they should be posted, whether required by law or not. So there's that. And then on page 12, the business of probationary period, our recommendation was to reduce it. If you cannot, as a supervisor, assess an employee's efforts and skills and knowledge within 90 days, then they give up. So we went with the 90 days and the opportunity to extend it another 90 days to further assess should that be necessary. The whole topic of employee performance reviews, they're never conducted here. I mean, in a general way, apart from perhaps a few contract employees, we don't conduct employee performance reviews. But we felt as a board that those should be done in spite of the fact that there is no financial compensation for excellence. Literally, none.
May I emphasize that again? None. But as a tool, as a managerial tool, performance reviews are helpful. Where are you doing well? Where could you use some help? Do you need some additional schooling? Are there workshops you could take? Here's where you're doing a fabulous job. We applaud you for XYZ efforts. So that was something that I think we all felt was useful, in spite of the fact that there is no compensation to go with it, or demerit to
But-
go with it.
But there sort of is, in performance reviews, that could go a long way in whether or not you get a pay increase for cost of living if the funds are there next year, or whether you get nothing.
I don't know of anyone ever who's done a really.
Maybe not, but I mean, that should.
I mean, ideally, in the world of unicorns, that would be terrific.
But it's also probably in conjunction with that 90-day review, where if in 90 days you're not doing the job properly, then you're not
Well-
going to have that review. But after a year, if you have a review and it's really well, then, you, for lack of a better term, you get to keep your job. And then we'll see if there's funds for an increase in pay, that 2% or something, that might be
Beyond
available.
that, yeah.
Or whatever.
In terms of, a negative side note, if you do a poor job, you still get
Can't
a
take
merit.
money away.
You still get a merit increase. Right, you are.
Who does?
So
No, she's saying you still can get a merit increase if we say
It
we're
still
gonna do 2%,
occurs.
that person gets 2% for doing a bad job. We can't go and say, hey, listen, you're doing a bad job, we're not giving you the 2%.
that never happens,
Never
Why can't
happens. Because it never happens.
because it never happens.
But that doesn't mean we
Doesn't mean
can't.
it couldn't happen.
Right, because we set the
But,
pay
so
scale.
that's essentially saying, I'm gonna whack you with a stick because you're doing a poor job, but when you do a great job, we're gonna do zip. Do you see what I mean? So we were
No.
feeling, though,
I get it. I get
in
what
spite,
she's saying.
in spite of, well, you'll get whacked with a stick if you do a poor job. We're gonna take, you're saying the opportunity is there as a Board of Selectmen or Personnel Officer to take away,
Oh, no, not take away, not give.
not give.
Not give, and then the opportunity is there if the person is doing a really good job and it's brought to our attention, to give.
Right you are,
Okay.
right you are. Okay.
And just, I think any part of a good performance review should also contain forward-looking goals for the next year.
Absolutely.
Something that's attainable, something
Absolutely.
that people can strive for, and then be
Absolutely.
measured against at the end of that
Which
next
was
period.
why we all felt, both Mike Bacher and Stan Tusinski, my other two compatriots in crime, felt that it should be maintained, even though it's not utilized. But it's a useful tool to help in a number of ways, as you've just suggested. So there was that. And then the other item,
Well, maybe the tool hasn't been fully utilized, or never utilized before.
hence the unicorn comparison. The other item was the grievance procedure. We worked hard on this one, seeking a way to make more concrete the process, so that it wasn't as loosey-goosey as it was in the past, that there's a time frame for responses, a time frame for responses by the employee, as well as by supervisors. And then as it escalates up, if there is not an opportunity for that grievance to be satisfied, to go a little further up the food chain. So that part we felt was important as well. That item's on page 15. And then the items on page 16, not really the Personnel Advisory Board's purview, employee conduct, gifts and gratuities, prohibition of certain political activities and all of that, as well as the drug, alcohol-free workplace and all of that. That's kind of more boilerplate and more of what's sort of required by law. Then the whole rest of it we reviewed last time, and that was benefits, leaves, and eligibility with the introduction of PTO. Again, may I just say for the record, our effort with PTO was for an opportunity to attract more employees, newer employees, while maintaining grandfathering, if you will, the benefits that long-term employees have accrued over the years, in lieu of, for instance, fatter paychecks. There was always, as I think Deb Webster suggested a couple of weeks ago, the benefit of time. And it's, I think, important to all of the employees currently here who would like to go or maintain the old approach, that be permitted to continue. I think that really only involves maybe a half a dozen people.
Yeah, we don't think that it's a big number of people to have to manage. It's just, how do we lessen the impact of that, having two policies, at least for one section of that?
Well, it'd be short
Right,
term,
right.
time-wise even.
Yeah, exactly.
So the short and the long of it, to try and make this in layman's terms so I understand it, a lot of this pertains to our finance, or our personnel director in the town. So a lot of this needs to be pulled out of here, and I think we heard that already once. Pull this out of here, and the personnel director, that's their job, not this board's job. That's what needs to be pulled out and pulled away, and I think there was 14 things of what I remember in one of the previous meetings needed to be pulled out of here. 14 different categories that don't belong in here because they wouldn't handle it, the personnel director would handle it.
Yeah, I think it was, to be honest with you, more boilerplate sort
Yeah,
of things. Like,
right.
there's mass state law with regard to,
Yeah.
sexual harassment policies, drug and alcohol
Yeah, that
policies,
wouldn't be handled
that
then.
sort of thing,
Right.
right. I think the biggest change, the biggest opportunity for change is the implementation of PTO. So there's that. And hoping sincerely that the folks who have been here for a bunch of years and are, shortly on their way out, be enabled to be grandfathered in terms of those benefits that have been accrued, that those not be lost. Any guarantee that the Board of Selectmen will look kindly on that approach?
There's only two guarantees in life, death and taxes.
Yeah, so that's what I'm talking about,
Well,
both.
I've already said it earlier tonight, I think that's personally what I think we should do is grandfather name.
I think that's our preference. At
Yeah.
least that's my preference. I mean, to find a way to do
Mike and I
that.
are definitely on that.
I wouldn't want to do anything to harm long-term employees, that's for sure. Can I guarantee anything other than death and taxes?
What's your point of view then,
Point of view on what?
then, Bill? On grandfathering the half a dozen folks who are still part of the workforce, but who probably won't be for long?
Again, I'm not into negatively impacting anyone that's been here long-term that would be harmed by anything that we do. So that is a non-starter for me. If it's going to do harm to any long-term employees or any employees that are already here, I'm not in favor of it. What I'm trying to do is find a nice blend that can coexist with old and new. That's not an administrative nightmare as well.
Right.
We don't want to have it cost us a lot of money to make it right for everyone, you know
You
what I
mean
mean?
in terms of record keeping or in terms of
record
like?
keeping.
Like, there's only 6 people roughly, right?
Yeah, I mean, and really what that boils down to is the sick leave buyback. That's it, basically. Which all of us who came slogging in when we really didn't want to, knowing that those benefits were accruing over the years, that's important to us.
Oh, absolutely. You can see it in the news every day. Pensions are being slashed, underfunded. The courts are siding with the corporations. I'm not in favor of that. I think it's wrong. I think it's disgusting.
I do too.
When you promise something and you work your entire life for
Right.
that carrot, and
Right.
suddenly you get to the end of that tunnel and that carrot is taken away, it's disgustingly wrong to me. I think the courts got it wrong. I think something should be done about it, and I'm not in favor of that. And my
Thank
vote
you,
will
I'll
be
remember that.
against- My vote will be against harming anyone with anything we do.
Good.
We're not looking, that was never the goal, it was never the mission. I don't think you took it that way when you, in your group, took on the task to try and update this and make it more attractive and more competitive, and that certainly isn't ours either. So,
So if we go back and we talk about grandfathering in, we take care of our existing employees. So now, when we're talking about the new employees, what are we actually talking about? What your board, I know I can sit here and try to read it.
I think initially, and what went through on this draft was, you know, if folks have been here for 5 years,
Yeah.
you can go either way.
Either way.
And actually, longer-term employees could go either way. It was an option that we wanted to put forth, that older employees here for longer than the 5 years could also go either way, because that, you know, that might be attractive, you know?
Given the option.
Right, exactly. And administratively, in terms of, you know, Denise's record keeping and payroll and so on, it didn't sound wretched.
Well,
So-
we don't have a lot of employees.
Right, so you're saying that anyone 5 years or more could go either policy. Anybody that comes in new goes with the new policy only. So you're right, that'll be,
That was the thought.
you're right, so that would mean that at some point, everybody would be on the new policy once
Once we roll
the
over.
existing employees retire or
Right,
leave or
roll over.
something.
Right.
do we currently know how many people have 5 years or more, as opposed to how many have less than 5?
I do not know how many people. I can get it for you and email it to you.
That'd be good, I'd like to know
Or
the
have it for
numbers,
the
how it's
next-
split.
Yeah.
How many employees are in town hall? Roughly.
Dozen?
One,
A dozen?
15?
And we're, you know, we're not forgetting the library, who are also part of this. Or any non-contractual, non-union employees over at the police station.
So there's
And
about
maybe a couple.
15 in the town hall. There's about, 5, 6 over in the library.
And some of the employees here are without benefits,
Yeah.
super part-time. Do you know what I mean? Like, we have on staff, I have 3 staff members who are under the 19 and a half hours a week.
And they accrue vacation on a part-time basis?
No, no
Nothing.
benefits.
None at all.
So,
Well, I think going forward, we need to isolate what the finance, personal finance director needs to deal with out, and then I think we need to, as far as the PTO goes, we discussed, you know, are we gonna grandfather in? And then give the new employees the option. Narrows that down.
a quickie side note. It was mentioned at the last meeting, something about, well, you know, if we do away with some of the benefits we've had in the past, I think Deb had mentioned this, that, you know, we become essentially a training ground for employees to, you know, carry on elsewhere. Just in my experience with the next generation coming up, nobody's going to stay anywhere for 20 or 30 years. I mean, I think that's an anachronism. That's gone.
Nobody
know.
gets the gold watch anymore.
Right you are. Yeah, right you
With
are.
downsizing, mergers,
Right.
acquisitions.
And really, the only way, and actually, we see this within Town Hall, the way to progress is to leave and go someplace else.
Exactly.
So that's just something to keep in the back of your mind, that really, and casting no aspersions against young people. It's just, you're not going to progress either in terms of your skills or your financial compensation by staying in the same place for 20 years.
That is unless there's growth. And
There-
growth
If there's an
sometimes
opportunity for
creates
growth.
opportunity, and opportunity,
Right.
But
if you were-
it's highly unusual.
If you were
nowadays.
sitting here in the town of Groveland, and the way that I've seen things go, you'll make maybe 2% more a year.
Right, right.
But if she takes off and say Newbury wants her, she can walk over there and say, wow, I'm working for the town of Groveland, I'm making X amount of dollars, but if I come here, I want $5,000 more. If they
Right.
need her bad enough, they're throwing her $5,000 more, and we
Right,
know
you
what
are.
happens on this side of the table.
And we
to
all
get them to
know-
come to their town, and that's what happens. It's the same as my business. If I have a guy and he's at the top of the ladder, and he's one of my lead carpenters or whatever, and, you know, he can go in the union and get a better job or go work
Right,
for a town.
right.
Hey, shake your hand, what can I do? You know what I
Right,
mean?
right, exactly.
You know, I can't afford to give you a $5,000 raise.
Right.
But if they can,
Right.
different work, better work, whatever.
And as you
they go.
mentioned, with
Unfortunately,
regard to the
It's
two
gonna happen
percent.
No matter what.
In
It's
the,
gonna happen.
in our municipal environment, oftentimes, the merit increase, if you will, doesn't even cover cost of living. I mean, you know, folks on Social Security got 2.8, and
Right.
you see what I mean? So there is that. And I appreciate the time. I mean, it's a production, this effort to look at these things that have
Right,
been
but I think we're,
longstanding.
I think we're narrowing in on it now. I think that we know we gotta pull some of this aside that Denise needs to deal with, because she's the personal finance director. I mean, one point that she made was, the reviews, you know what I mean, the personnel reviews. I think we need to narrow that
Performance
down and get that
reviews.
taken care of, because I haven't seen a lot of it go on here either. But I'm not here every day of the week, but I
Right,
know
right,
enough what goes on.
right, right.
I mean, let's narrow in on that, and the PTO's the biggest issue. Are
Yep,
we
I
gonna
think so.
grandfather or not gonna grandfather? Are we gonna let the new employees, are they stuck doing one route, or are they stuck, can they take?
Well,
whatever
talk,
route
you
they
know,
want?
say, talk among yourselves.
Who got 2.8?
Folks on Social Security,
When?
this year, 2019.
In many years, they didn't get nearly anything. Many, no.
I work with seniors, so I
And-
can tell you.
And I saw my mother's social security check every month.
Yep.
So sometimes they didn't
Yep.
get anywhere near that 2.8%.
But-
Sometimes they didn't get 2%.
But that's right, but
So
it's-
every employee in the town got 2%, even through the Great Recession, when a lot of people were taking pay cuts, losing their jobs. So, you know,
No, we haven't
the
always,
river
no,
runs
that's
both ways.
that's incorrect. We haven't always gotten 2%.
Since I've been here,
How long have you been here?
20 years.
Doing what you're doing now?
No.
Paying attention to this sort of thing?
I'm
thinking not.
Between FinCom and this, 7 years, and I've never seen it less than 2.
I don't know, we got 1.9, we
Yeah,
got
those are
1.5. What I'm saying is, at least with folks on Social Security, it's linked to the cost of living. Price of gas, price of heating, food, those sorts of things. What happens here isn't necessarily the same. What should also be mentioned in a positive note is, there were a couple of years when we got 5%. And that, yes. And that was great. So I'm just saying, it's all over the place. But it's not really something, as I said before, that's
And I-
that's linked to performance.
When I came on the board, whatever that day was, whenever I made that mistake, but whatever, we had that discussion that, I think there was a couple years, it was 1.5, there was a couple higher
Yes,
years. And
yes.
when we were here, and how we arrived at the 2%, is it like, well, something, let's give them something, but let's give it to them flat across the board type thing?
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that's
Yep.
where we were trying to derive at the 2% thing.
Right,
You
right.
know what I mean? And try to give
Yep.
it to them every year, rather than a fluctuation,
Right.
one low, one high.
Right.
We were trying to just get it so everyone got it on a regular basis.
Right.
More or
Right,
less.
right. We want to
and
talk
again-
about the 3.3% for the current uptick that's going to occur with our health insurance coverage, but everybody's getting whacked with
Join the
that.
club.
I
You're
hear
not
you.
alone.
I hear you.
We're probably looking at 12 to 15% uptick in the private
In the,
industry
in
where
the,
I am.
in the company you're working for.
So you're 3%, you're awful lucky.
Oh, yeah, there are many ways I say that,
And they,
many, many ways.
and on top of that, they're gonna increase our deductibles, so we're gonna have to pay more out of pocket, so
That's happening.
this is a problem that is
It's a,
universal.
it's a universal problem, right? You are.
I wish I had a better answer, but I don't.
Well, thank you for your time.
Thank you for
Thank
your,
you.
for your efforts. So Caitlin, you can get us the number of employees, plus and minus that 5, so we know
Yes.
how many we're affecting, or we don't want to affect. Would you want to have more discussion on this, or?
I think that, as we always say, we can kick the can down the road a million different times, but I definitely think that we need to give, out of this document, we need to give the parts of this document to Denise that because she's the personal finance director, the ones that she needs to deal with. And then we need to, I don't think there's a lot more left to discuss in here. I mean, we got the PTO to discuss, which is the big issue. Are we willing to grandfather it in? Which I personally think that's the fairest. And then what do we do for new employees? You're gonna let them, stick them to this new format, or they can go to the old or the new?
This is a Word document, right?
Yeah.
So we can edit this. We can edit this as well. Obviously, like Lynn said, Ms. Stanton said, there's some of it that's not going to change because it's by law,
Right.
and there's others that like the probationary period we talked about. 90 days is much more
But-
acceptable than 6 months.
What do we have currently now, 6 months?
It's 6 months.
So 90 days, there's a benefit, so the new incoming coming in. Get in, you get 90 days in, and you're off and running.
And then it's proposed that PTO is offered from the first day. I say it's retroactive from to the first day after the probationary period is complete, not before. That's another change I would like to see made.
What was that one?
The probationary period, I mean, come on, really, seriously. Gene, better be serious. The probationary period is 90 days, but it says the employee is eligible to take PTO during that 90. I'm not necessarily a fan of that. I think
No, no.
You should have to wait
All
that 90
benefits
day.
start, yeah, all
And then
benefits
it'll be
Then
retroactive
be
to the
retro, I
first day.
agree, I agree. So
So-
everything, nothing starts until after the retroactive 90-day period, then they can kick back to the first day.
Mhm.
I agree.
And if I can lay out this in better schedule, more of a box. You know, 0 to 2 years, you get this, 2 to 5, you get this. Each year after that, you get so much more, blah, blah, blah.
That would make it more confusing, wouldn't it?
No, I think it'd be clear.
No, I think it'd be so much clearer in a box form that you could just look at and say, I've been here this long, plus this many years, I should get this many days, and it's cut and dry. And in a way to incorporate, so we have one policy that doesn't hurt the old employees, and helps us with the new ones. It's how they accrue the old way. And the biggest part, I think, is because they accrue differently, right? Is that how Denise explained it to us? If we go to the new policy, people are eligible right away for everything,
Right.
and they weren't before? Or they had to accrue it?
I think you accrue it monthly.
You accrue it monthly now.
I believe so.
And if-
So, yeah,
And if we go to the new way, what I think she's saying is.
You get it
somebody would
all
be-
July 1st.
All July 1st, a minute, so. And that's the old policy. No, the new policy is you get it all
The
July
new
1st.
policy would be, start July 1st, I get
You're eligible for
25 days
days PTO.
of PTO.
That's also language that needs to be tightened up. There has to
right,
be
so when
restriction
you're
on
here
it.
90 days, right? When you're here 90 days, and you pass July 1st, boom, you get to have all that.
Well, those accrual days, yeah,
Right.
as part of your accrual.
Right.
Yeah, the ones you accrued. But not not 25 full days that she's talking about now.
No,
That's the difference.
Yeah. Doesn't that accrue as well, or is it just automatically given?
I think it's an automatic.
I think the way this is
I don't
written-
have vacation yet. I don't know.
I mean, I don't get that in the,
But when you
In
get
the
your
private
vacation,
sector.
after so much time, you'll get vacation.
Right,
So how long do you have to wait right now?
till July 1st.
The next fiscal year in,
Right.
Yeah.
So I started in fiscal 18.
right,
And I'll get
So
it
she had to
July
wait
1st,
until then.
fiscal 20.
right.
normally you accrue everything as time
Right.
goes on.
But
From
the
the first
policy
day
right
of hire,
now
Doesn't
might-
work that way.
doesn't work
Right.
that way.
It's,
But the PTO also could do a monthly accrual too.
Right.
I mean,
absolutely a weekly accrual.
Do
not
it
a
all.
weekly, a monthly.
Do it
Oh,
all.
A
monthly.
weekly would be way too much work.
Yeah.
But you could take the 25, divide it by 12, on the first paycheck of that month, you get those 10 hours or whatever, 12 hours. So then you're not running into somebody taking all 25 days
Right.
in July.
So like ADP and Paychex has functionality that you can put in an employee the number of days they have.
Harper's has the
And then
same.
it will accrue on a weekly basis, and in your paycheck, you'll see every week, your bank will go up by a day and a half,
Yep.
or an hour and a half, or whatever,
Yep.
per week.
Yep.
So you can see that bank building up.
You can do the same thing with Harper's, like your first paycheck of the month, you get your, whatever your accrual rate is, you get that. So when you get your paycheck, you'll see, yeah, Harper's can do the same thing.
Okay.
But it's not weekly, at best it's bi-weekly,
Bi-weekly or monthly, depending how the pay
Right.
structure works.
Right.
which would be bi-weekly
But that's
here.
fine.
Yeah.
Either way, you see
Yep.
that bank building up.
Yep.
So the thing is how to get the old employees, we almost have to move those people right up.
Why? So you're gonna move, that's gonna be costly to do all that, right?
Depends on how many people. That's why, you know,
Right.
Do you want this on the agenda again for April 1st?
I think so.
But the point is, if you put this on the agenda, don't put anything else on the agenda then. This is pretty complicated and it just. this
Or
is
just
the third
one
time we've talked about
section?
this and we've got nowhere with it. You know what I mean?
Well, that's
We're
because
getting
we're
nowhere.
dumb and dumbest, that's why. We don't
Well,
do it.
I mean, but we know, so if you, right now, if you're talking about the current employee, they got what they're getting for vacation. So them coming in and getting on, who cares? They're already on it, they're already running with it, am I correct? So as
Right.
long as, it doesn't really pertain to them if they're not new, they're old. So if we grandfather them in and they're good,
Yeah.
right?
Then we have to change language for new employees that they accrue the time and then they don't have it day one coming in. That's the issue.
Right. And you're telling me that you wanted to try and get new people in, there's your policy to get them in. You'll be
Well,
getting
first
them in
we
that
got-
way.
Yeah, you get them in that way, and then change the language so
Then you're
that they accrue immediately and not have to wait 2 years before they get anything.
I agree with you. I'm not disagreeing. I
Yeah.
agree with you, but I'm saying, if you're a current employee, are they gonna be happy with that? Cause they're not gonna be accruing as fast as the new employee.
They should accrue more.
They should accrue more.
I agree.
And they
should
might
rate
even
higher
have
rate.
carryover
Right.
from the previous
And they
year.
will accrue at higher rates. Have more vacation time, they'll accrue 2 or 3 days,
Right,
3 hours, whatever.
and so now it's gonna start costing more money. I know there's not a lot of employees, but it's gonna end up costing us more money, because if they're accruing faster, more vacation, et cetera.
No, it doesn't cost you any more money. They have what they have. Somebody has
So let's just,
somebody has earned 8 weeks vacation.
Mhm.
They accrue.
is that stop, that's it, they got the 8 weeks and they're all done at 8 weeks?
I-
How does it keep accruing, if they hit 30,
No, there's
40?
no carryover.
No,
You
it's
get
not
a
gonna be
certain
like
amount of,
three years off.
No.
I'm not saying banking. I'm saying if I'm here for 35 or 40 years, does that keep accruing? So now I'm up to, I could be up to 16 weeks vacation.
No,
Okay, that's
No.
all I'm talking about.
no, because this limits, the old
All right.
policy and the new limits it to
All
a
right.
maximum,
Okay,
if you've been here 100 years.
perfect. So then we really don't, it's my point that I'm trying to make. For a current employee, it's not that big of a deal. You're gonna get to a max anyway.
Most of them
Right.
probably are at the max.
They're probably at the max anyway, so why we even have a discussion on that? We should only be having the discussion and worrying about the new recruits that you're talking about, trying to get them to come in. That's all. That's what I'm getting at.
So if you gave them 25 days PTO combined, you would accrue so many days a week, so many hours a week, or
However you
days a
do it,
month,
weekly,
however you
monthly,
did it.
however you do it.
And then you'd be eligible for vacation time literally within your first year. You could, if you
After
started,
your 90 days.
after your 90 days, it retroactive
Right.
to day one.
Right,
But then if you would work 6 months, you would
Yep.
actually have banked enough to take a week off
Yep.
in your first year,
right.
which would make it attractive as opposed to having to wait 2.
You got it. Sounds like he's on that road.
All right.
So now he's gotta get it down.
So it's just a matter of tightening up the language.
That's it.
I'll put it in a box,
That's it.
send it out through Caitlin or Denise. You guys
So
can
you
look
wanna
at
tighten it up?
Yeah, I wanna tighten up a little language, and I'd like
So
to
what I'm
put it in
saying
that
is
box
you-
so you
So
can look at
you
it.
seem like you've got a pretty good handle of it. You wanna try and taking it and doing it?
Yeah, and
I
actually,
think the more you add me and Mike into it, the more it's gonna, you know what I mean, we can.
I've been asking the human resource people where I work to help me with this as well, because this is their bailiwick, it's not
Right.
ours, you know what I mean? This is what they do all day, they put together personnel management policies. So I'm trying to tap that knowledge base and, say, help me out here, what do you think? Where can I go, how can I make this better without,
Well, I think we got it now. I think we've discussed, like I've said, and I think we all got it. The old employees, they're gonna get to a cap out point, we know that. The new one coming in, we wanna try and catch them up, and they're gonna have to come in here for 90 days.
Yep.
And after that, they go to the day one, the first day they started, they come in. Well, we just hired someone, and the person came before us and said, listen, I've already going to Puerto Rico here, I need my vacation. We did it, we worked it out for them, you know? So every situation could be tweaked a little bit.
and to tell you the truth, the way the insurance works, it almost coincides with that.
Exactly.
Because you have to be 60 days.
Right.
From the first day
Yep.
before the
Right.
insurance kicks in,
Right.
so.
That's
It almost
all
makes it
governed
easy
by
where
that.
everything is retroactive to that day one, your
Right.
insurance,
Right.
your PTO.
Right.
That might make administratively it easier too, because now this clock starts on the same day.
Right.
Sounds good.
Alright. I'm gonna keep my HR person up late tonight. So we'll move on with votes of the board. We have minutes from the February 19, 2019 meeting.
I'll second that.
You gotta make a motion first.
You gotta make a motion.
I'll make a motion to, I thought that was a motion. To approve the minutes from the February 19, 2019 meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing as there's none, all those in favor? Okay, we have the minutes from the February 26, 2019 special meeting.
Motion to approve the minutes from February 26, 2019 special meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on the matter? Seeing as there's none, all those in favor? Authorize the following ballot questions for the May 6, 2019 annual election. Change the elected tree warden to appointed as approved under Article 6 of the April 30th, 2018 town meeting.
Do you wanna take those all separately?
Yeah, we should take those separately.
Motion to approve the change of elected tree warden to appointed as approved under Article 6 of the April 30th, 2018 town meeting.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing as there's none, all those in favor? We have prohibition of recreational marijuana is approved under Articles 7 and 9 of December 3rd, 2018 special town meeting.
Motion to approve prohibition of recreational marijuana as approved under Article 7 and 9 of the December 3rd, 2018 special town meeting.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah. No.
Okay. That's a lot of revenue on the table, but
Yep.
okay.
A lot of
Any
short-sightedness, too.
Yeah, well, hey, what are you gonna, any further discussion? All those in favor? Okay. So this last one is changed a little bit, and it's going to continue to change, I'm afraid, until the MSBA really solidifies or approves, gives final approval of the language. And I do have the new language, and it's quite lengthy, I tell you.
Longer than the other. Butler
Oh,
Street.
man, let me tell you. We just got it the other day, actually. I'm not printing it. Okay. I have to go to my email. Language, here we go. So basically, this is the new language for this, the article. The article, and we're not sure yet, to see if the town will approve the appropriation and borrowing authorized by the Pentucket Regional School District for the purpose of the construction of a new middle high school to be located at 24 Main Street, West Newbury, Massachusetts, including the payment of all costs incidental or related thereto, the project, which school facility shall have an anticipated useful life as an educational facility for the instruction of school children of at least 50 years, and for which the district may be eligible for a school construction grant from the Massachusetts School Building Authority, MSBA, said amount to be expended at the direction of the School Building Committee. The MSBA's grant program is a non-entitlement discretionary program based on need as determined by the MSBA, and any project costs the district incurs in excess of any grant approved by and received from the MSBA shall be the sole responsibility of the district and its members and municipalities, and its member municipalities. Any grant that the district may receive from the MSBA for the project shall not exceed the lesser of, 1, the approved percentage of eligible approved project cost as determined by the MSBA, or 2, the total maximum grant amount determined by the MSBA, to determine whether the approval of such borrowing will be contingent upon a vote of the town to exempt its allocable share of the debt service on the borrowing for the project from the tax limitations of Prop 2, so-called, or take any action thereof related thereto.
Make that a motion, not to reread it.
As stated.
Now, this language has not been approved, I just want to throw a caveat out there, it has not received final approval from the MSBA. So the language that I have just stated may change slightly. There are no, you'll notice, we'll probably get calls later, there are no dollar figures in this article. I've been told it is not possible to put the dollar figures in there, so you won't see them. And this, again, article is subject to change slightly based on MSBA's final approval of this document.
So why do we need to vote on it tonight?
We have to vote on it as is, with the, say, you've got to change a comma here, a comma there, a word here, and a word there. But we need to have it,
That language is fluid then.
according to them, it is.
So we can accept the document as read, knowing that it will be fluid and adjustments will be made.
Hopefully, there won't be any, but there's always that possibility that once the MSBA reviews the document, that they may suggest that all 3 towns make some amendments or some adjustments to it.
Motion as read.
Seconded.
Okay, any further discussion?
Yep. Can we add that there may be some adjustments forthcoming on the language to that, or do we have to?
Yeah, I don't know if we have much control over it.
Probably not.
We're hoping, you know, we've had it reviewed a couple of times, but there's nothing written in stone until
So it's
the
a
date.
proposal.
Couple
more or
of
less.
weeks, they'll be getting back to us, I believe, on the exact language that they'd like to see. The votes taken by both the school committee and the building committee was such exact and specific language that had to be read during those meetings and documented that, you know, they're funny people about language and exactly what goes in. And I imagine there's a whole room full of lawyers somewhere that
Lawyers,
just lives on this kind of stuff, right?
it's awful. This is downfall society.
So we do have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Terrific. We have selectmen's time and reports. Mr. Dunn, would you like to start today?
Selectmen time. Okay, does anyone know where that squad truck behind the fire department went?
The what?
The squad truck?
Squad 1?
Yeah, the old one?
Wasn't it surplus?
Yeah, but it never came before us to make it surplus.
I thought it did.
It was talked about maybe going to the fire department. I mean, to the highway department, but I don't ever remember coming back before us saying it was going. I noticed it was missing and gone, not missing, but gone. I didn't know where it went.
I thought it was designated surplus and sold, but I can't,
But
I'm
I
not
thought
100% sure.
Karen Custody of Board of Selectmen was supposed to vote on it.
I think we did.
Or maybe we did, maybe I missed that.
I think we did, but this would have been
It was a while ago.
8, 10, 12 months ago anyways.
Right, because I had the discussion back then, and I believe it was discussed that the superintendent, the highway superintendent wanted it for the highway, but I didn't know, if it was ever voted on by us to send it over there, if it went over there, but it's not there, so I was just wondering, I didn't remember coming back before us for a vote, so that's my only question.
Caitlin, is that something you could follow up with us on, just to make sure that,
Sure.
I believe we might have, but just to
Okay.
satisfy you,
Okay, so,
make sure.
I'm going to start this coming week, end of the week, and I'm gonna start sending out the, donation letters for the signs. Denise had given me the price sheet and everything that was all done up, so, I'll start putting those out. She was gonna do a letter, but she couldn't before she went out, but I think I can get a letter put together, a cover letter for it. So I'll start putting those out to the different businesses.
Oh, good.
And making some calls as well. And, I think that's it for now.
Denise says the truck was surplus to the highway.
Okay.
I was right. Look at that.
So we didn't have to
Remembered
vote on
something.
it to do that.
We remembered something.
And even though she's not here, she's
She
She's here.
knows. She's always here.
That's it.
For now, yep.
Mike?
Yeah, a couple things. So last Tuesday, I was here at Town Hall for the We Are Pentucket meeting with residents and senior citizens to discuss the proposed school project, the impact of a no vote, the impact of a yes vote. I didn't add a whole lot of value to the discussion, but there were students here who kind of gave some inside information on what a typical day could be at the school. Some rooms are boiling with sweat, some that were freezing and bringing blankets. So the meeting went well. I think the ideas were received well. There is an opportunity for residents to tour the school. I think it's April 2nd and 3rd and 4th. I think that's on that We Are Pentucket website, but I would ask people to take advantage of that, to see firsthand what the condition of the school is, so they, again, are educated and knowledgeable on what a yes vote does, what a no vote does, what the ramifications are, what they could be, and kind of take that into consideration. Also, we just got a letter from Dr. B about, I don't know if you guys remember, the Haverhill rowing crew team came in here, presented to us about wanting to put a boathouse down at the Pines. Well, Dr. B has said that now that they're not going to allow Pentucket students to be part of that because their enrollment is too high in Haverhill. So we might want to consider allowing, I don't know, I gotta research it more, but I might wanna reconsider allowing them to build a boathouse down at the Pines if Pawtucket students aren't gonna be able to join it as a rec committee.
Yeah, we haven't had another meeting, but,
Right,
wow,
yeah, so that just came in like literally 5 minutes ago, so
wow.
we probably wanna have a discussion on that at some point.
Because in the meeting that I sat in over at the Merrimack, Valley Regional Building there, their athletic guy said, oh yeah, we're joining with Pawtucket.
Yeah, well,
I-
according to this,
Wow.
they're not allowing Pawtucket because their enrollment is too high in Haverhill.
Well, then we rent them the space.
And the rent just went up.
We rent them the space.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
that was a great opportunity for the kids to try
what-
something else.
Right, oh no,
was.
I agree.
Yeah. So,
We rent them the space.
I
Simple
imagine
as
they
that.
must be disappointed because they've gone up and down this river and said, this is the ideal
Right.
launch
Well, the money
spot."
that they've been getting, the money that they've been paying, I didn't think it was a lot to begin with now. I mean, now they're gonna do that.
well,
I'm on the
again,
committee, so
it's
we'll
something
find
we
out.
should investigate
Yeah,
more
sure,
before we grant
definitely.
that, but I wanna make
Right.
sure that was brought up.
Right.
And then the last thing, I did just send an email back to Senator Tarr's office to ask again about the line painting on Main Street. I know some residents have been asking me about that, and I've been pushing for that for, about a year now. And I just want to make sure that we were on the list to have that done this April, or this spring anyway. So I am still working on that. I haven't given up, and when I have an update, I'll bring that back.
Have you heard any more on that? We're definitely meeting on that, the building?
There is a date for sometime in April, that's Washington Street with
Yeah.
Senator Tar. I think
I
it's on
have
a Thursday at 7
Was
o'clock.
that still on?
As far as I know, that's still on, and I really want to push on that so we can get something done at some level with that location, clean that up,
Yeah,
so, yes,
talk about an eyesore.
still working on that.
And, you all set?
Yep.
Just to expound on something you said, Mike, I was astonished by talking to a few people around town, how many people don't realize that we're building 2 schools. Not just one, we're building 2 schools. A lot of people are under the impression that we're only building 1 school. We're actually building a middle high school. We're building 2 schools, not just one.
One building, 2 schools.
With 1 building. So this really takes care of the proverbial 2 birds with 1 stone for the next 50-plus years. Most of us, all of us in this room, it'll outlive us. Not you, Mike. No, you'll live forever. I know. You'll be the first graduating class. So hopefully we get people get educated, understand that this is for 2 schools. We're going to rid ourselves in this district of 2 non-energy efficient, non-functioning, non-productive buildings with state-of-the-art, energy-efficient buildings, which theoretically should lower our operating costs, instead of maintaining 2 buildings and try to heat 2 inefficient buildings. We're heating 1 very efficient building. So we should all realize some savings out of this once we pay for it.
The middle school, when I went to Merrimack meeting, that they were saying that was gonna end up being torn down for the football fields.
Yes.
So is that land, even though it's in
Kinda.
Groveland, is owned by the Pawtucket schools, or is it town of Groveland land?
The boundary, as I understand it,
Goes
kinda
right
cuts
through
right
there.
through the gym of the middle school,
Oh.
if I understand it
So
right.
some
Actually,
of it-
Dr. B did bring up an interesting idea, kind of kicked it around, of using the current admin offices as a senior center for the 3 towns.
Yeah.
Probably too far for Merrimack to really want to get on board with that.
Yeah.
But maybe West Newbury and Groveland might, because they're already built, it would just be a little retrofit inside.
Right.
I don't know if that's something that can be done,
Well, I asked that to
out
my,
what
Right.
that does to the project, but it's,
Well, right now, if you go on the website, they have a dynamic presentation, and I mean in 3D, with people walking through the courtyards. You can see the grounds, you can, in a week or so, you're going to be able to open the door and start walking
No,
through
no,
the
no.
classrooms of
Right.
this building. Something that's extraordinary, something that 10 years ago you just couldn't do, and now with the visual imagery and sophistication of computer software, it's amazing what they showed us last week.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
Do you know
And
if
the
they're
couple-
gonna be using the old junior high for the football fields? Because at the end of the last meeting in Merrimack, I asked one of the Merrimack, person, I said, wouldn't that be a great idea to do a senior center in there? He said, no. He went over and asked someone, football fields are going in there. Then I heard recently rumored, that they were looking at maybe using that building for, like, businesses, possibly putting businesses over there.
What building?
The old junior high school,
The old
No.
middle school?
middle school, junior high, yeah,
That middle school is gonna be gone,
okay.
yeah.
So that's why I just asked you,
It's
the middle school's definitely gone, 100% gone, and
Yes.
it's gonna be used football fields.
There'll be a football field and
Stadium.
there'll be,
Stadium.
for
Okay.
sports.
well, it'll be a multi-use
All right,
facility.
so it's gone, so the rumors are all rumors, so it's gone,
Rumors are rumors.
okay.
That is, that will be a multi-use field, there'll be, locker rooms.
So making it into a, senior center, that's all rumors, it can't be done, because it's gonna be all gone.
I would say so, and I would say they couldn't have, you couldn't have picked a more energy inefficient building to put a senior center in. You wanna talk about cold people? Holy cow. No, that would have been,
Okay.
I'm not even sure how you'd even do that, with that building.
What do you
It
mean?
was the newer part.
No,
though.
I'm
was
talking
the
about using
admin.
it, they'd be using it, partly using it for a senior center, that's
Yeah,
all
I
I'm
know.
saying, but my question to you was, it's gone, and
It's
you
gone.
said it's gone.
It's
All right,
gone.
the end of story,
There is no building now.
All right.
So old or unfinished business? Mike?
No, I've got nothing.
I think I'm good.
The only thing I can think of is welcome aboard Mr. Rennie Carroll, our new highway superintendent. Hopefully your first day on the job was a good one. Hopefully you come back tomorrow and keep coming back day after day after day. Any other items not reasonably anticipated?
No, I don't have anything under that.
Bill? Okay, I have one. It's basically has to do with the town clerk and the election coming up. My understanding is that the current town clerk is not running for reelection. Is that my understanding?
That's what I've heard.
Okay. In order to make sure that we have as smooth a transition as possible, I would strongly suggest that anyone that has satisfactorily fulfilled the nomination papers should be allowed to shadow that position on a volunteer basis, and that should be made accessible to all the candidates so that we don't show bias to any one of them. But I think it would aid to a much more seamless transition of that office. Because as you know, at 12 o'clock, that office is gonna change hands. We don't necessarily know who it's going to change hands to, but I think it would behoove us, the taxpayers and the residents of Groveland, that we try to make sure it's as seamless and as painless and as smooth a transition as possible. So my suggestion would be that the town clerk open up that office to the candidates so that they be allowed to shadow her and see what they're getting into. Some candidates may change their minds and say, I didn't think this is what I was gonna sign up for. Others may be very motivated and it give them a help up should they win. I'm not sure who's gonna win, and I'm not favoring any candidate over another one. I'm just looking for a seamless transition.
Well, I know in the selectmen meetings, people can come in here that are running for selectmen, sit and watch a meeting and get involved in it, so I would think that, I don't know how that office runs, I can't speak on behalf of it, but you would think that it's an elected position, so someone could go in and see what's going on. And they shouldn't have, one person shouldn't have an upper hand over another person, so if it should be a straight and level playing field, if one person can go in there, and all candidates can go in there. Same as the thing here, this meeting's open, they can come in here, they can sit, they can see how we operate and what we do, and get a good feel for how the board runs. So I think I agree with what you're saying, 100%. I don't know if that's, what you can do that or not, but I mean, if it could be done, I think it's the only fair thing to do. Like you said, at noon, at midnight, whoever goes in that office, then may have an idea what's going on.
And we want to make sure that, during this transition and this learning curve, that it's not detrimental to the taxpayers and to the citizens of Groveland to come here looking for services from that office, while someone's really trying to, get up to speed in a big, big hurry. Caitlin, do you know if we need to make a motion on that?
I do not know because she is elected. I don't know
That's
Yeah,
where,
we don't have any say if anything
if,
happens.
Right.
right.
I don't think you can, you'll have any say, right?
I don't think the board has any say over what goes on in her office. I could be wrong,
No, I think you're right.
but
Well,
maybe you could
then
draft
I
a
would-
letter and request.
I would, yeah.
But other than
I
that-
think that's what we should do, and then strongly suggest that that be the case. I think if we really care about the folks that we service, that would be something that we'd want to do. Would you agree? Would you agree?
Oh, I'm not going to comment on that position or that election, because contrary to what some people think, I can see, I do want to avoid any perception of conflict of interest, so I'm not going to comment on it. Not a
I
big
think
point.
I think that we could ask if, or maybe on behalf of us, how am I trying to say this? We'd like to see them, the office open to let the candidates go in there and get an idea. I don't think we can demand it, because it's an elected position, and I don't think we can demand it, but I think we could maybe send a letter over and say, we're asking, it's only fair to let the candidates go in there and see how the job runs or whatever. What it entails. I don't think they need to give out any kind of town business, but
No, I don't think that's necessary, but just to be able to shadow our existing town clerk
we can
for a
talk
little
about it
bit.
all night, but we don't have the say. I don't think we have the say. I think we can ask, but I don't think because it's an elected position, just like our past road commissioner, the way it was set up. You know what I mean? It's an elected position. That's why we're trying to get it, the highway appointed, because you don't have any say over it. So all we can do is ask, and all we can do is write a letter, and,
Okay, see what you can do on that, Caitlin, and then we'll see if there's anything legally that we can ask,
Okay.
and this would be for all candidates, not just for any single one. I'm not sure even how many people are running for the
Well,
office. What?
I don't know I don't know if there's one candidate, how do I say this? You can't, don't offer to one, not the rest. I think
No,
it's
what should be offered to one should be
offer
offered
to
to all.
the rest, right, that's
The
all I'm saying.
opportunity should be open to everyone.
Open to everybody, because
regardless of who they are.
Right, because then, right.
There's
You
no
got it.
bias.
Right.
I'm the first one to tell you that, if you can judge a person,
Right, but the point is, if one person gets to know the job better than the other person, it's not fair, that's all I'm
it may
saying.
give an unfair advantage, you're right, and
Right.
if one person has access, then all should have access.
And I'm not saying that every candidate needs to go in there and work, I'm just saying they need to know what this job entails and a little bit of background of what's going on, or how the office runs, or
I'm
whatever.
not even saying work, just kind of follow that person around, see what their day, their routine day might be like, what they can expect, what it's like to have to pull a birth certificate, or fill out a marriage license, or issue a dog license, or whatever, just to get a feel for, the daily goings-on, that's all. Just so that this poor person doesn't come in at midnight on the next day, you win the election on Monday, your job's, that's that Tuesday morning.
You're starting.
And, you know, so that we can give the, as much benefit to the people we service.
Right.
I would hope that that office would allow some kind of, you know, shadowing for a little bit, so that it would be a seamless transition, so that people aren't lined up out the door, trying to get things done that should take 10 seconds, but because we don't really know where things are, how they're done, the computer acts, you know, take a little longer. It's always a learning curve. We just want to try to mitigate that as much as possible if we could, for all candidates. Finance director's time,
Nothing.
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 and we have nothing for correspondence as well.
Get out, are we done?
Well, I actually asked Caitlin to kind of take it easy, because I know I've kept you guys here kind of late the last few meetings, and I kind of felt bad
What am I
about
gonna do with
it.
the extra 2 hours?
Well, here's my suggestion. There's a lot to be discussed, especially with the budget, because we just got some fantastic news
Yes.
on our Whittier assessment was way down. So I believe the budget is going to look much different than the package we were given
Right.
just a couple of short weeks
Yeah.
ago.
And we don't need to find that money for
Yep.
the fire.
We probably don't, so I think we need to get a revised package based on those new numbers that came out.
Okay.
I think that'll
And
take
where are
up
we
some
with the
time.
fire? Well, we're just waiting for the job description to be sent out,
I think the job description was sent out, wasn't it?
probably.
Caitlin, do you know? We posted the job for fire chief?
I don't know.
I don't think that was posted.
I know
I
we
mean, it
talked-
might have been done before Denise left, but I don't know.
We talked
gonna work
about
on
just
it.
using the Weymouth,
Yeah,
right?
But she was gonna work on it.
So she's yeah. I don't think it's been posted yet.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think she had that other
She had,
stuff.
she only had like a day or two, and,
A day and a half.
yeah, that was it, not much.
I don't think she could've got to it, but I think that was gonna be her top priority when she got at least back on.
Yeah, I thought she was gonna try to get that.
And
right
she said she
before
was
she
gonna work
went
on,
in.
when she started feeling better, work on some stuff at home as well,
Yeah.
so we don't know, she could be doing it at home.
Yeah.
Mm.
But I think that still needs to go out, but yes, the news about the budgeting stuff will help with that, as
Huge.
well as the other departments here.
Right.
Huge,
Not be
huge.
so
Well, I
much as
think
much.
that the numbers went back.
Yeah,
I think the numbers went back, so they didn't have to, strip anything out of any of the conversation I had, I think that the numbers can go back to where they were.
Oh, yes, but now there's
And
a
have the
little
money
bit
for
of
the fight.
access,
Well, hopefully,
so that maybe we can scroll some of that away.
Right.
Or use it for some things that we really need, not just want.
right.
So based on that, I think the next meeting will probably be pretty large. We'll have the budget and the personnel kind of things to discuss.
In the interim, maybe you can have a discussion with Denise when she, get the numbers she wants to pull out of that thing. That's in her jurisdiction, let her deal with that.
Mhm.
And you work on it, and seems like I think we have a pretty good discussion, we gotta figure out where we need to go with it now.
And it's in Word document, so I'll send it through Caitlin or Denise to disseminate to the rest of you, and then you
Okay.
can feel free to mark it up,
Yep.
send it back, and then hopefully we can have one final discussion and push it through. Anything else?
no.
Anything else? All righty.
Motion to adjourn at 8:35.
Second,
There's a motion and a second. All those in favor? Seeing as none, okay.
There's no one in favor?
Seeing as no one in favor. Mike, we missed you last week. What